So I'm quite happy to accept these.
Lepers.
Oh gosh, where can we start?
Well, the thing is,
happy to talk to them.
I
Very
was
centrist
quite
ones.
happy to leave this till next year, but, you know, some of it's to do with operational and some of it's to do with others. Do you want to speak to them, Cameron?
Yeah,
You basically-
I will. I'll just shine some light because it does look a bit hard on the eyes to read them from there.
Can we
Yeah,
scroll
it's-
down to B?
No, it's
Oh, no.
it's from D. These
D.
are ones that Dick and I have put up. They're largely to just
Basically
put in a bit more
inform-
focus
yeah.
on the generic one that you've talked about with the workshop and noting the successes that the organisation's already having in certain areas. One is to explore the opportunities around the international airport. The second one is post-port study to explore the options around leasing, as has been pointed out by both reports. Another one is around car park intensifications, as has been discussed, and the opportunities there in market uplift. The next one is to minimise duplicated common back office functions, and as the report notes in the EY report, that this could save 15.2 million annually, 10% compounding savings in the communications, HR, ICT, and that's 1% rates right there and then. Again, just further work. Next one, direct staff to review those $280 million worth of commercial buildings slash former civic entities, I suppose, and noting that the CCOs and the parent could do better with an accommodation strategy and the savings that have been mapped out as estimated in the EY report. And then it goes on to directing staff, as I think your amendment already addresses, Madam Chair, about ongoing review in and around the group's significant fleet of vehicles. So it's just shining some light on certain aspects that I suppose I and Councillor Quacks and possibly some others don't want kind of swept over, that these in some of our eyes might be seen as more significant than possibly others and worthy of a bit more extra interrogation. If I can I speak to this now, Madam Chair, since I've taken you through just quickly?
I think I've got an amendment ahead of yours.
Oh, have you?
Remember?
Okay, well maybe I'll support
Managing
yours,
that
you can
through the
support mine.
Councillors, now I've thought long and hard about Councillor Casey's amendment. I'm very reluctant to accept it because workshops are for discussion.
That's right.
And examining things. There are legal ramifications here of what decisions we make, and we don't make decisions, as Councillor Casey has often said, at workshops. You make the decisions in meetings, and our meetings will be open, but to suggest that we can discuss some of the issues that are in this report in open, we need to be able to ask clear, concise questions, to ask the staff to do more work, to come back, all those sorts of things. So I'm not accepting Councillor Casey's
What standing
amendment.
order are you using not to accept it?
I've had advice.
Chairman's ruling.
Standard standing order, please.
It's not a standing order. As chairman,
It needs to be a standing order, so you need to tell me which one you're disallowing it under.
Oh, it's chair's discretion, isn't it?
The chair has final discretion, I think.
Chairperson's ruling.
Which standing order is that, please?
My wonderful Elaine will have it. We will find it. I haven't got mine.
Give me 2 seconds and I'll find it.
Councillor Philippine.
Chair, just based on your ruling, would that also apply to these recommendations?
Oh, no.
These
certainly not,
recommendations.
Well,
certainly
these
not.
ones, and the reason I say that is because obviously when both Cameron Partners and Ernst & Young actually came through, it was interesting the word that they used, which was, one, our findings, and two, related observations, but more observations and conclusions. So with these recommendations that I'm seeing up there, what I'm looking at is us taking as gospel both of these reports, and I don't think it needs to be taken as gospel in regards to any of the options, because we're asking the chief executive in H, for example, to undertake what we believe is correct with this particular document. So I think if the workshop, if anything, your ruling should apply to these as well, because I'm only looking at these as findings and not recommendations, as been said around this chamber.
Well, Councillor Filipina, all we're asking in these recommendations is for further work to be done on aspects that are in the report. So they will inform us when we actually come back to the workshop in February, instead of just starting from a blank piece of paper that we actually have had. And the Chief Executive's quite happy, and so is the Chief Financial Officer. We've put sort of, to have a look, and we've discussed it with them, and I mean, it gives them a basis for moving forward, which is very simple, but you can vote those down if you like.
Oh, no, I will be, but I mean, just supplementary to your comment then, Chair, in regards to both reports, I mean, are there any conflicting findings or conclusions when we relate to any of the recommendations that are up there?
Well, that's for the officers to explore, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you've mentioned Ernst & Young. I mean, what about Cameron Partners in regards to their report, whether it's conflicting to some of your recommendations? That's all I'm asking.
No, we've had a look at them, Councillor Filipina. There's no conflicting. All we're doing is asking the staff, the Chief Executive, to direct staff to have a look at some of those issues.
Point of order, Madam Chairman.
Yes?
Can you tell me what standing order you're telling me down on?
1.2.4.
Underneath it says, if any member disagrees with a chairperson's ruling, the member is entitled to set out his or her reasons for disagreeing and have these standing orders available to refer to, but the chairperson's final decision must apply. I'd like the opportunity to disagree with you and have it recorded in the minutes.
Right, that's fine.
And the following reasons. This council is responsible for the combined assets of 8 other councils. It's the most important decisions we will ever make, and we're going into hiding, and it's absolutely ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. I didn't see anybody elected on a platform of asset sales. I did see some people, including myself and the mayor, elected on a platform not to sell strategic assets. We should own our political views at this table. I have no worries about anybody listening to me at any time on anything at this council. And so we can get some political or legal advice that says we may not discuss X or Y. But every person who's watching this today and out there has a view on whether we should or should not sell things like parks, libraries, golf courses, housing for older people. People
where
have a
does it
view.
say in this that we're going to sell anything?
Well, actually,
if
the
we
public of Auckland won't know what we're going to sell if we go behind closed doors to do it.
They will, because anything that is discussed at the workshop, which is what I've been trying to point out, will then be brought back
The
to
decisions
open...
will be made. What the people will not get is the views of their elected
Excuse me,
members.
Councillor Casey, that's
Made at
total
workshop.
nonsense. And
That's
please,
Nonsense,
outrageous.
and you know it.
it isn't. We will actually discuss it in a workshop. We will bring to a finance and performance meeting any decisions that we want to be made, which will then inform either an annual plan or an LTP to go out to the public.
Shocking.
It is not something that's going to be done behind closed doors.
Madam Chair, these would
Except for...
significance policy. This would trigger that, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. But
So there's a
we're
huge
asking-
process.
So, can I just say, we're asking the staff to do more further operational efficiencies, to have a look at it.
I can't read anything that's on the board, so I won't be voting for it. Unless it can be given to me, I can't read it.
Just trust me, Kathy.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Madam Chair,
Doesn't mention social housing.
just on the basis that we really didn't have these proposed additional recommendations, outside of a little bit of licence at the back end of most of them, I'm reasonably comfortable with those as ways of further ballasting the information that may come through. I just want to get an assurance that we will keep this work within a reasonable frame from Sue, because a fair amount of the stuff relating to the benefits or otherwise of a sale, part or all of the airport shares, has been pretty much provided by the two reports. So we've paid $500,000 so far for the reports that we've seen. So can Susan just sort of give us a little bit of a lead on how she'd respond to these requests so that we don't overly amp the work?
No.
And get it back here in February. Now, Madam Chair, the second part to this is that on the basis that as a consequence of the workshop, we actually decided to move on some parts of what have been proposed, then of course we would be looking for probably even more. And I would suspect that whoever the next mayor is and the next councillors will be looking to absolutely get a lot more. So I think you need to give us a little bit of a lead, Sue, on just how far you would be taking these recommendations to enable a reasonably decent discussion in February that would lay the platform for the next elections discussion on asset retention or sale. And then, Madam Chair, can I just speak finally, because I don't want any misunderstandings from anyone around this chamber or elsewhere as to what I feel about this process and how I think we should proceed.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, to respond to your questions, Mr Mayor. The first points relating to the first two parts, the airport and the port, as has been rightly noted by many councillors in the room, I should say, this afternoon, those are they trigger significance issues. I would expect that we have the majority of the work that we need to be able to expand in more detail upon the reports from Cameron Partners and EY, just to be able to come back to committee with stepping out what that would what that would involve. With respect to the operational pieces, we do have again a large amount of that information to hand. We can use the work that EY and Cameron Partners have done to clarify some of the activity that we have, and also as good reference points to refer back to. We may need to revert back to both parties with one or two questions. However, I would expect that we've got the majority of the capacity that we need to actually explore those options in-house ourselves, as we are already doing.
Right, thank you. Madam Chair, if I can speak to the recommendation and support of it. So I want to support the recommendations here today, councillors, and I want to do so against two or three key backdrops to this discussion. The first is that the reports should give us a lot of confidence. And both the reports are very clear that our balance sheet is extremely strong, and I really want that reiterated around the community, and that the decisions that we might make out of this are to really embellish the balance sheet and not to deal with any other issue or any perceived challenge within our balance sheet. I think this message is really critical and it's assuring. Secondly, what is also part of our challenge, and it's been the challenge of this council for the first two terms and for future councils, is that we are constrained around rate increases, we're constrained around borrowing and debt levels, we are constrained around how much user charges we can charge, we are constrained with government support. We tried to address this through motorway tolls and or regional petrol taxes, because most of our challenge is around transport and complementing our transport spend, not really around anywhere else. And so we have some natural constraints. Have I changed my view necessarily on the port or airport holding? Absolutely not. And what I've read here doesn't change that much either. But what I have assured the community in all of the meetings that I go to, and certainly have been going to over the last 18 months, as we've discussed in LTP, is we need to be well informed as to exactly why we make that decision. And so the submissions from both these companies today actually are not dissimilar to the ones that I've been hearing for the last 20, 25 years. And so, you know, is there anything different in there? No. But am I prepared and wanting for us to actually have a discussion so our community understands? Absolutely.